Hello there again, boys and girls. I'm Nick in the States, and today we're doing a slightly belated Harley Benton ST-70 Rosewood Stratocaster copy. Kind of a first take. This guitar is also prominently featured in a Stratocaster style guitar comparison video that Tim and I shot. It's the first and second guitar we play, and you'll see a lot more tones out of it then, and a lot more in-depth from the tone side. So this is mainly just a kind of a detailed look, kind of just at some of the details and my thoughts on having this guitar for the time that I've had. If you look nice and closely, what you'll see is a very nice glossy rosewood veneer on the front and a rosewood veneer on the back. You'll also see white knobs that are, well, they're rather cheap. Let's be honest here, folks. Vintage style tremolo with bar that slides in. It's not a screw-in bar, it's kind of a grippy, slippy one. 5-way switch, black plastic guard which still has its film on it, which is why it looks kind of dull. Rosewood fretboard with a maple neck and a skunk stripe for those of you skunk stripe enthusiasts. It's actually very nice maple quality there. Matching rosewood headstock. All in all, very, very good guitar. And I dig this one because from a look and aesthetic, it matches my Rosewood Telecaster very well. And at the end, I'll put these things next to each other. We're also, as part of this video, going to do a couple minor upgrades to this guy to kind of make it complete. So, nice guitar though. It came action-wise out of the box, like. It's actually very nice playing guitar. Very comfortable neck. No fret bites. As you can actually see, all the frets are nicely recessed and kind of grain filled over so that there's actually no real visible fret on the edge. And it makes it a very, very comfortable playing neck stock out of the box. Tuners are listed as a DLX style tuners. They're nice, smooth. They feel pretty good in the hand. Like any Strat style guitar that doesn't have the vintage style, it's a little tight quarters up there. But all in all, not bad. They do 2-string trees, and they're your kind of standard old school Fender style cheap string trees, which is just fine. The nut on this bad boy actually is pretty well done. You've got some extra material up on top, but from a fit and finish, leftover stuff, everything there, actually is very, very well done. Good job, guys. Couple knocks on it. First, the strap holds are a little small. Pretty sure things are going to slip off there. I popped it out. It actually is a reasonably large block, but it's not a very heavy block. It's very cheap kind of pot metal block on it, on the trem. And what the tone meisters say is if you get like a solid steel block or rolled steel block or a brass block, it definitely is said to have a big difference in tone. We're going to try that, although not on this yet on this guitar. So that's the plan. But still not like cheap tiny. I have some Mexican Strats and even a Squire 2 that come in, and the block it just doesn't have a lot of metal to it at all. So that's good. So all in all, you can almost hear a little bit of buzz coming out of the amp, but nothing too killer. And what I'll tell you is, they're not the greatest pickups, folks. They're a little weak. They're a little thin. But I tried bringing the action up a little. They're not fantastic. If you watch the tone comparison video where we go from this to a Squire classic, vintage modified to like a boutique Strat with a set of Tex-Mex pickups in it, all the way up to an Eric Clapton, these were the weakest pickups of the bunch. And It's the cheapest guitar of the bunch. I think about $135 or $140 US plus shipping. It's I would say that's acceptable. But the first thing I would do is run out and get yourself a replacement guard, loaded guard for this. If you haven't played with a Strat, one of the awesome things about Stratocasters from a modification standpoint is the guard comes out with all your electronics and everything, and basically you've got a single ground wire that comes around and mounts back to here, and you have 2 wires that have to get soldered onto the jack. In fact, you can actually undo the jack and it pulls through, and therefore you really are only soldering in the ground wire in most situations if you get a loaded guard with the jack. Which means swapping out pickups and pickguards for different awesome combinations is really a half an hour to an hour task between setting the guitar back up and stretching your strings and whatever. So it makes the guitar very forgiving and fun to mod out to your heart's content. And a set of pickups for a Stratocaster makes all the difference in the world in most situations. I have a theory for this particular guy, and once again it's a theory and we'll see how it's borne out. Your Tonewood disciples will have different theories on it, is that I think this is probably a softer, basswood or some kind of, I'm not really sure, the wood that makes up behind that veneer. And so I would say that perhaps it's not quite as resonant as my ash-bodied, Tex-Mex equipped shell pink Stratocaster, even after swapping the pickups, but it'll be very interesting to see. What I have for this one actually is a set of Guitar Fetishes. I think they're Guitar Fetish, a Hot 50s style, so or a Fat 50s, basically a ballsy Stratocaster pickup set. So what I'm going to do next is to take this guitar, we're going to pop the strings off, we're going to pop the guard out, we're going to do a little bit of demo of what's going on underneath the hood, and then we're going to put in a new set of pickups into this guard, and we're going to even give them the makeover that I think they deserve. This guitar looks awesome, and it's the twin of my Telecaster. So due to the magic of video cutting, so here are these two guys. Now, if you were to make, ask you out there in YouTube land, I'll listen to your imaginary answers, but if you were to make a twin to this bad boy out of a Stratocaster, what one thing might you do differently? Oh, you're exactly right. I too would switch the knobs, the switch tip, and the pickup covers to chrome so that it would look more chrome than this and get rid of the white out of the equation. I'm so happy we agree. So we're going to do that too. And I got some of those in. I actually got 2 sets of chrome stuff because I ordered from China and then realized they were from China. So then I ordered from the Stratosphere. So anyway, stick with me and we're going to do some upgrades. So let's get started on this bad boy here. And the key thing I have is it's from Gundorf. Is this kind of folds into a suitcase, opens up as a perfect kind of guitar workstation. Got some cubbies for tools, and then I have my standard little cheap set of Craftsman miscellaneous snips, needle nose, and long needle nose. And so I try to keep those all together with a little roller, random sheetrock knife, wire stripper. I see one of the hardest parts for me with working on guitars is staying organized because I may not do it for a month, 2 months, 3 months. So I've got Ziploc baggies in my little toolkit, and I've got this guy so I can unfold it, dump and go, and I know I have all my tools right there. I have doubles of some of these that are in my normal toolkit. This is just my work on the guitar because I'm retarded and I don't have a lot of fun. And I need to stop saying the word retarded because people with challenges probably would take it the wrong way. But I am at least challenged. There you go. So, like anything, first thing we go nutty with, let's take strings off. Alright, so I've got the back plate off. And a great many Strat players actually just leave it off because it makes it easier for doing strings and whatnot. But let's take a look here. The camera. You can actually see is this what you call your block. A Stratocaster, that's what it mounts really to this thing, and when you wiggle this block wiggles back and forth with these strings here. You get some blocks that are a lot smaller in both this direction, and sometimes they'll tighten it up even tighter where it uses less material. 3 springs, more resistance to shaking it. And here's your ground wire. So this will need to get soldered into there. And here's your claw, which attaches with 2 screws into the body. See? Kind of nice. So that's that. So let's push these screws out. Let's push these strings out. And you'll see the strings just come out the holes in the block. Now, if you are going to replace the block on a Stratocaster guitar, you have to be careful again, because string spacings are different between import, including Mexican, and the US. And then, even on certain guitars, like Highway 1 Strats have Mexican measurements. I think even the California series do too, versus a USA Strat, even though it's a USA technically guitar. So you got to be careful, do a little research before purchasing, or at least pick up your blocks and or replacement bridges from somewhere that has a good return policy. There you go, there's the back. Here's where you can also kind of see, if I turn it the right way, that rosewood top there is just a very thin veneer on a wood that, if I had to take a guess, it looks like maybe alder or poplar or one of those lighter wood types. It could be basswood, however you pronounce it. Not really sure. But anywho, the veneer really is. I mean, it's like cardstock thick, and that's about it. Now we've gotten the rest of those off. Let's pull this guard off. While I'm unscrewing, one other thing to note is that in the Fender world, there's like 3 very common varieties of pick guards. And it really has to do with how many screws or how the screws are positioned on the top. So this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 total screws, so that's a standard. But, can anybody at home tell me why this one isn't your most popular style? Bing. Answer is actually this hole right here. In a 1962 series Stratocaster, I think it's 62, it's here, so you'll see 62 guards. And then on a regular Stratocaster, it's actually over closer to here. So you'll get this guard and there won't be a screw hole here. There'll be one here. Likewise, from one manufacturer, from Fender to Squier to any of the copies, there tend to definitely be some variation of where the holes are. So when you get a guard, it may not line up. Anywho, just an FYI there. Finish this. Oh, so fun. So if you're going to put a new guard on, expect to perhaps do some screw adjustment. Likewise, if you buy a guitar that's had a swapped pick guard, it's probably also worth expecting that there may be some whimsy or some extra holes when you pick the guy up and peel it off. It just happens. You totally could do this with an electric screwdriver. I just don't like risking scratching. I'm kind of a spaz, really. That's the whole point. Alright. Not alright. So there is your loaded guard. I flip it over. You can see something very common with the Harley Benton. These pots are actually kind of on the small side. Kind of is actually the wrong word. These are small size pots. A regular, in the US, this is like a dime. And a regular pot's about the size of a nickel. So they're definitely smaller. It's not really stopping how they work, but, so you get your volume, tone. There's your capacitor, which affects your tone stuff. 5-way box switch, so once again, not the highest quality or the preferred thing that a Fender would have, or some of the high-end stuff, but a fully functional switch nonetheless. It's just, I think with this one, it's easier for them to solder to the posts, and it's probably just cheaper to source. And your 3 no-name or no markings on the back pickups except for SEM, and that's just the maker of the plastics. So all in all, though, it's pretty easy. So in order to pull this off, though, there's 2 things we would need to do. First thing we do is take this jack cup out. Once we have the jack cup out, remember those needle nose pliers? I can unscrew this washer here. Washer comes out. Jack cup comes out. On the back side, there's an adjustment washer and one of these little locking ones. Goes out there. Ah! All right. So for this particular guitar, and it's pretty often common with Strats, the hole isn't big enough to pull this down. So when I swap the guard, I will have to snip these two lines and solder in those two. So really there's 3 solder points in this situation, just so you know. So what I will do is note yellow goes to the ring, so to speak, which means it terminates to here and it's the outer circle, and then blue terminates to tip, so that's actually the inner side sleeve that picks up there. So tip and ring. But actually, I just learned truly what that meant not all that long ago. So there we go there. Likewise, I can flip this bad boy over, and for now I'm going to snip this. And voila, we have a loaded pickguard that I will save because I may use it for another project. The bummer is I actually have to unscrew everything out of this pickguard, which I will do off camera so that we don't bore you with that, and remount everything in there. So now what we have here is a mint green loaded guard. Now you can see, if you look at this, see the difference in size of those pots? I think that actually the good ones are about the size of a quarter, whereas the little guys in Harley Benton are those. Ironically, this uses a box flip switch too from GFS. Probably a very similar manufacturer of the green capacitor, right there. And then their pickups. Flip them over. Aren't they pretty? Now this tells us that we've got some work ahead of us swapping pickups from one guard to the next. And while we do that, we're going to swap on a set of these chrome covers, whichever one fit these particular pull piece the best. Stay tuned. Alright, so parting thoughts on this beauteous guitar is that out of the box it was alright. It's a good little thing. I enjoyed it, but it was lacking. And I think with the addition of, $50 worth of GFS parts, guitarfetish.com, and some swapping of pickups and stuff, she's now as I think she should be. The pickups aren't the best, hugest, most awesome Strat pickups ever, but they're a huge improvement over what they were. I feel like I can get more tones for how I play, which is kind of a more clean to dirty, but I kind of want to have more bell-like Strat tones. So not harsh, but not huge either. So with that, it's the Harley Benton ST-70. A great deal stock, a fun modding project out. She's still going to get, she's got a full-size block in it. She might get a rolled steel block eventually just to see what all that hootenanny's about. And, yeah. What else there is to say? If there isn't. I don't know why I'm still talking. I've been Nick in the States. I have issues. Thank you for enjoying them with me. Take care, folks.